Welcome back to the UnBoxed broadcast. Today, Dr. Davis and I will discuss how to manage lazy and unproductive employees. We're ready to dive in. We're excited you're here. So stick around as we help you unbox the power and potential of your leadership.
I'm Dr. Robert Davis, family life educator and leadership coach. This is my co-host, R.P. Soriano. Soriano attended Johns Hopkins Carey Business School, worked in the financial industry, and was an international consultant before partnering with me to launch UnBoxed to Lead. Me? Well, I worked for over 20 years as a senior pastor and a community organizer. Then I retired and started a leaders peer support community called UnBoxed to Lead. Soriano and I have been friends since the early 90s, and with our varied experiences and expertise, we help leaders reach the next level in their leadership. So join us for the next few moments as we unbox the power and the potential of your relationships, your leadership, and your life.
Welcome back, one and all, wherever in the world you may be. I'm R.P. Soriano, and with me once again is Dr. Robert Davis. He's a leadership enrichment and family life relationship expert, the founder of UnBoxed to Lead, author of Seasoned with Grace, God's Recipe for Healthy Family Communication, and the 12 Steps to Becoming an Unboxed Leader. How are you this week, my friend?
Man, I am so glad to be here. I'm doing quite well. April showers are going to bring some beautiful Mayflowers.
It's very good. In your part of the world, that's I think that is the saying. Here in Singapore, showers just bring more heat. It's just like a constant sauna here. So that's what showers give us.
I thought about Vietnam, and I thought about Forrest Gump when he said that the rain came from every direction, and then he said
all kinds of rain
came from the bottom.
That's right. It rained every way. There was big old fat drops of rain, sideways rain came from the top. That's right. That's right. Very accurate description. So anyway, just want to remind everyone to like, share, and subscribe to the broadcast. Also, be sure to follow all of our social pages as well as our blog page at www.unboxedtolead.com. And there you can access all of our past episodes. We've got some great episodes up there. If you enjoy listening to two men in their midlife wander on and on about sometimes good stuff, sometimes nonsense, then you'll get a kick out of looking at some of these old broadcasts that we have up there. So before we dive into our topic, I want you, Robert, to give us just a brief update on the BIPOC Leaders Peer Support Community cohort. You're facilitating the cohort of about, I think correct me if I'm wrong, it's about 13 or so BIPOC leaders?
Yeah, man, we are having an amazing time bringing leaders together and setting up a space. You know, as we've said so many times before, leaders need more than a coach. They need more than a consultant. They need a community. Mm-hmm. And to watch how leaders are able to help each other solve organizational problems and to think through and to identify resources. As one person said, man, this is like having a team of consultants helping me to address this issue relative to my board. And I feel good about that. And so the way that we're able to not only think those things through in the support group, but then, our community allows them to have conversations and to interact even beyond the support group meetings to continue to provide that help for one another.
Yeah, I think one of the members actually sent us an email, if I recall correctly, and she basically said, I'm paraphrasing here, but she was making the comparison of she's done a lot of leadership courses, and she's been a part of a lot of things similar to this surrounding leadership. But she pointed out that one of the things that made a difference was that instead of being talked to and being instructed, this was the first time that she's been in something where she's actually been able to talk with. She's not being talked at. She's actually able to share her expertise and also get the expertise from the other members, which has been so beneficial. I think she said something to the fact she wished she had just experienced something like this so much sooner in her experience.
And I want to share this with you, Raphael, and please don't repeat this. I don't want anybody else to know about this. This is our little secret. I get so much out of these meetings. I learn so much listening to other leaders. is tremendous, especially to BIPOC leaders as they share their experiences and how they are moving their organizations forward and how they're thinking about various problems. Is tremendous. So I think I'm getting as much, if not more, from the group as the group is getting from me.
Yeah, I just want to let everyone know that this was a scholarship that was funded by various partners that we have, foundations and nonprofits who were so kind to sponsor and support financially this scholarship. We want to keep this going, so we are continuing to look for partners. So if anyone out there is listening and you run a foundation, you want to support BIPOC leaders, be sure to reach out to us. Visit our website, hit us up on the contact page, and let us know you're interested. We'd love to have a conversation with you on continuing this effort going forward.
Yes.
All right, so let's dive into our topic for today. A very interesting topic. We're talking about how to manage lazy and non-productive employees. I think we've all had situations in our career when we've either worked with, we've either led, or we've been led by someone who does not pull their own weight. We don't want to call anyone names per se, but generally the shortcut description, the way that these people are discussed or characterized around the office is that they're lazy.
Yeah.
That's essentially how they're referred. And it's a frustrating, and it's a literally a paralyzing experience that raises anxiety, as many times other employees, many have to pick up the slack, or they end up doing the rework, which can cause all kinds of problems for the team. So let's talk through this, because one of the things that we focus here at UnBoxed to Lead, one of the things that I've learned from you in our conversations is that our goal is to help leaders actually lower their anxiety and to teach them how to do that themselves, and also to help them do that for their team.
Yeah.
So I know that one of the ways that we do this is to help leaders realize a very important point, and that is how to manage yourself, how to be in control of what you can control, actually, which is your reaction and the place you play in the relationship. So as we were preparing for this show, you said something that was really profound, and it's in keeping with the philosophy of UnBoxed to Lead. And that is that the issue is not managing lazy employees. The issue is managing yourself in a relationship with lazy employees.
Exactly.
I think there's a strong nuance there that I know you're going to flesh out for us. But I think that when people hear that, they may be asking themselves this question. Are you suggesting that there's never a time that a lazy, non-productive person or employee should be fired?
Yeah, and I think that's a very good question. The answer is no. There are times when we have to let people go. There are times when you just have to flat out fire people. There's some people who are just not cut out for the job. And I want to back up for a second, because you said something that just reminded me of the frustration that I experienced as a child and as an adult. It's the frustration of being a part of a group project and doing so much of the work on the group project and having others who are just goofing off, and your grade is dependent on how well they perform. And I was just talking to a friend of mine the other day. His daughter was a part of a group where she did all of the heavy lifting. The other kids are goofing off. And one of the kids in the group, which baffled me, I don't know how he's going to resolve it, but one of the kids in the group got a higher grade on the project than she did, and was one of the kids that was goofing off. So I know this guy. I know he is going to have a very heartfelt conversation with the teacher. So I'm going to be interested in seeing how that's resolved. But I think we carry that frustration when we've experienced it as children. And there are just some people in our groups that are just lazy when we're in school. They don't care. They want to do what they want to do. And maybe lazy is not the right word, but they want to do what they want to do, and they don't want to do what they don't want to do.
Yeah.
And it is what it is. Some people as well, and I want to just share this, some people as well are outside of their area of expertise. Sometimes you can elevate a person beyond their level of competence. Sometimes you can place a person in their in an area where they're just not adept. And that can manifest itself as laziness. So what we recommend is that before you fire someone, that you do two things. Two things are necessary. Number one, people who need to be fired are the exception, not the norm. And you really have to think about this. The first thing is leveling your mind or keeping in mind that people that need to be fired are typically the exception and not the norm. And number two, before you fire someone for being lazy or unproductive, a leader should do a deep introspection to the type of leadership that they're providing to the organization. So those two things. So even, with a school project, what type of leadership am I providing to the other four people that are in our class assignment group? What type of leadership am I providing in the workplace? So rather than just saying this person, because in our society, we love to label everybody. Everybody is an armchair psychiatrist and psychologist. But we need to kind of back up from that and say, okay, instead of me just labeling this person as lazy, let me think, is this person promoted beyond their level of competence? Are we asking this person to do something that they just don't have the skill set for? Is there something that I'm doing? Is there something that's going on in the workplace? Let me take a deeper dive is what we're really getting at.
Yeah, I'll let me just follow up with that as well. I think in that deeper dive and looking at it, the example you gave earlier about the group project in school, I think a lot of times what happens both in school and both in work is that people are just thrown together in groups or thrown together and called a team. And yet they're not really taught how to function as a team. That is just supposed to somehow happen organically. And we all have to be very intentional and thoughtful about the norms that we establish as a whether it's a work group or a team. Who is going to function as what? How is leadership going to be established, and how is that going to work? Are people going to rotate in and out of leadership roles based on the role that they play? Whatever the case may be. But if there's nothing set up to be able to hold one another accountable in the group, it is really not going to happen organically. And what will end up happening is those things will come up when it's far too late. And like you said, someone ends up doing all the work. Someone ends up being the one left holding the bag. And it's usually, and that tends to be how it happens. And a lot of people feel that they are more successful and more capable as an individual than they are as a group because of that experience. But let's spend the next few minutes talking about this second point that you brought up, and that's about how a leader. Let's talk about how a leader does that type of introspection with their leadership.
Yeah. So before we can really dig into that subject, first we need to understand a concept about relationships called reciprocity. Reciprocity. This means that the action of another person that we're in close relationship with, similar to a workplace relationship, or whether it be, a home relationship, that the functioning and the actions of another person is directly impacted and influenced, and is often in response to my leadership and my relationship posture. So as I look at that, I say to myself, what's going on here is some kind of a relationship reciprocity. And, it's a very touchy area when you talk about what role does a person play in certain types of relationships, and what accountability does a person have to take for the role that they play, the relationship posture that they're taking. But a leader does that. A leader says, okay, let me see what is the role that I am playing here? And again, relationships are often built on reciprocity. You do this, so in response, I do that. And what I mean by that, especially as we talk about workplace laziness, is that laziness is often a sign of someone over-functioning. If someone is under-functioning, there is a 99.9% chance that the other person in the relationship is over-functioning. And if someone is over functioning, there's a 99% chance that someone in the relationship is under functioning. So it's kind of like that yin and yang, almost a relationship balance where one under functions, one over functions. And we see that in family relationships. We see that in workplace relationships as well. And again, like I said, this is known as the over functioning, under functioning reciprocity. To give an example real quick before I shut that down, there's another example, and that is another relationship reciprocity is distance and pursuing. So you see two people in a relationship, one gets uncomfortable by the level of closeness in the relationship, so they start to distance, and then the other person starts to pursue them. And so you again, that relationship reciprocity. One pursues, one distance. One under functions, one over functions. And it's kind of like what came first, the chicken or the egg? I don't know. But I do know this, that usually what you see in the workplace, within the family, is this delicate dance between the leader over functioning or the team over functioning and the under functioning, just assuming that natural position.
Yeah, and I can see where introspection comes in here, because it's important for a leader, if this is a normal way for them to function, let's just assume it's the over functioning leader. That's just a normal way for them to function. They just think that that's just, that is, they don't see themselves as over functioning until they can really look at the relationship and realize the type of work that they're doing, the workload that they're carrying. And if they're actually doing the work, not only their work, but doing the work of someone else. I think that, when I hear that, Robert, I wonder sometimes, there have to be times when you have, what happens when you have two people who are just both very highly motivated? Do you call that over functioning? If let's say, for instance, you have two leaders who say, they're both stepping on the gas, they're going 100 miles an hour, they're both producing, and they're extremely productive because they just have this, they're highly motivated or whatever the case may be. Is there something to be concerned about with that? I look at that as kind of like a team firing on all cylinders. Is that a case where would we call that over functioning? What actually defines over functioning? Let's
there's a couple of things that we confuse, and I'm going to talk about a little bit later on. There's a couple of things that we confuse with over functioning. Workaholism is one of them. So there is a difference between over functioning and workaholicism. Workaholicism is where an individual does not know how to set those healthy boundaries and do the self-care that's necessary to push back from work and to be a more balanced person in every aspect of their life. So that's what you're describing. Two people who are workaholics and they just dive in, they give it 100%, they go all in for it. Over functioning can only be discussed in the context of a relationship. Again, it is a relationship posture. It is a relationship response. I observe what the other person is doing, and then I am doing my part in response to that. And so that's what we mean. There's a difference between being a workaholic and being an overfunctioner. And sometimes those two get confused, but they're two totally separate things. And I'm going to talk a little bit later on about how sometimes we confuse an overfunctioner with a micromanager.
UnBoxed provides a full-service leaders peer support community that helps high-level leaders become more authentic leaders who build healthy workplace cultures and reach their personal life goals. To learn more and discover how we can take your leadership and your life to the next level, please visit our website at unboxedtolead.com. That's unboxed, 2, lead.com. Again, that's unboxed, 2, to lead.com.